The 2021 preseason is in the record books, and it's officially time to look forward to week one as the NFL season is here, and it's the regular season. Games start to count as the Cowboys prepare for their season opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers September 9th in Tampa Bay. And alongside Isaiah Steinbach, Barry Church, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans, three former Cowboys breaking down what will be another great season of Cowboys football here on Special Edition. And I'm going to start things off by looking back just a little bit to the preseason. The Cowboys go 0-4 for the first time since 2018. And the last two times they went 0-4 winless in the preseason, they actually went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. So winning doesn't matter in the preseason, but what was your biggest takeaway, Nate?
They left the cow healthy. They all 22 guys, all the starters are healthy and ready to go, and that was my biggest takeaway from this.
Yeah, and from my end, I think that we have an understanding of who our backups are. Last year, we didn't really have the opportunity to check these guys out, right? So now we've had a full offseason, we've had a full camp, we've had a full 4 preseason games, and now we have an understanding exactly who we can rely on should we need to go into that second tier.
Yeah, for me, it's the defense. I mean, these guys have been flying around pretty much all preseason long. And look, they've been taking the ball away as well. So look, if they can continue that, hopefully into this regular season, I think we might be on to something.
Lots of excitement around the defense and maybe the turnaround that Dan Quinn and that entire staff has really put on that side of the football. But I think it's safe to say that there's more excitement whenever it comes to Dak Prescott and his return. Cowboys fans didn't get a chance to see him in the preseason, but Jerry Jones this past week on 105.3 The Fan said, hey, well, he's ready to go. Here's what Jerry had to say.
Well, I think very encouraging from my viewpoint. He's moving good. He's really got that zip on the ball. Frankly, as far as him being able to execute the throws and move around the way he should against Tampa, I don't have any concern at all about that. And I know he's mentally ready to go. That's truly one of his real attributes, is his ability to take the study, take the game plan, and execute it in the game.
Thank you very much, Nationwide, for giving us that Jerry Jones sound. And I think overall the excitement is there, and there's a little bit of nervousness around it because of the lack of preseason snaps. For the first time in his career, Nate, Dak Prescott didn't see any preseason time. Is that something to note whenever you look at the quarterback?
Not for me. I needed to see him practice. And he's had that little stint where he was out, but he came back and he practiced. And he's ramped up, and so he's ready to go. Preseason don't mean anything.
Yeah, only two things I'm concerned about. I want to see his conditioning when it comes to the game because there's no replicating game reps. And then also have your eye out for some of his timing in terms of some of those windows, openings, you know, when he throws a ball, whether those windows open or close and how quickly that is. You may see some INTs early.
Yeah, Isaiah, I agree with you 100%. I think the only thing that can really affect him is that timing, that chemistry between him and his receivers. That shoulder injury limited his throwing action in preseason and camp. But that's something I expect him to shake off rather quickly and get back to his old self sooner than later.
Hasn't played in a regular season game since week 5 of course, the 2020 season with the compound fracture. Haven't really seen a whole lot of team reps at the same time. Looking at Ezekiel Elliott, he's coming off of a career low year. Really quickly, Isaiah, what do you think whenever it comes to Zeke, and what kind of chip does he have on his shoulder this year?
I think Zeke's ready. I think he's done a heck of a job this offseason preparing himself mentally and physically. You know, it's going to be on Kellen Moore to make sure they keep this team in short down and distances so that they don't have to rely on simply dropping back all day long.
Yeah, I think they're going to lean on Zeke heavily this earlier part in the season. I mean, look, the quarterback's coming back from a serious injury. He might be a little rusty. So they're going to go ahead and lean on Zeke. Get him out there one-on-one with some of these linebackers. Draw up some screens. Get the ball in space to this guy because nothing but good things can happen when the ball's in his hands.
He's explosive. I saw him all during training camp. He's quick as a cat on a marble table, man. He's flying around. Zeke finna go for 15, man. They need it. With Dak the way he is, go to Zeke. 1,500, man. I need to see it.
That's an interesting, I guess, illustration you gave there. A cat on a marble table. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had any kind of image like that looking at it. But you're right. Zeke has certainly slimmed down. He looks like a different player, and he's back down to his playing weight at Ohio State, something he has not done over the course of his career. So lots of excitement around Ezekiel Elliott. We mentioned the defense as well. Just how good of a turnaround will this defense see in 2021? Dan Quinn, DeMarcus Lawrence have a chip on their shoulder, and we talk about it next when we return with more Special Edition.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Salvation Army, doing the most good. And by AT&T. This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Play the new Gym 7 scratch tickets. There's a Gym 7 scratch ticket for everyone, so play today.
Plenty of positives throughout the preseason surrounding a newly vamped Cowboys defense as we welcome you back in. It's a special edition from the Globe Life Studios at the Star in Frisco. And gentlemen, we all have units that we had our eye on, of course, throughout the preseason, and some of which were impressive, some of which not so impressive. But Isaiah, I want to start with you. The middle of that Cowboys defense certainly had some things to look at.
Yeah, this defense has been revamped, and it's so much so at the second level specifically. Our linebacking crew has gotten an upgrade. I don't know what grade we had last year, but we have taken a huge leap forward in that regard. We think about this core here. You think about core linebackers, you typically think about 2 to 3 guys. We have 5. Right, we have Parsons, we have Van Der Esch, we got Smith, we got Neal, and now we have Cox. These 5 guys present the most versatile group that we have on this team. These guys have the ability to run sideline to sideline. They have the ability to cover backs, cover tight ends, and rush the passer. This will be the biggest contributors on our team collectively as a unit.
Isaiah, you mentioned grades of the linebacker core. Out of the top 6 players in the NFL, 2 of which that were graded at linebacker by Pro Football Focus are both on the Cowboys. Keona Neal finished as the highest rated linebacker in the preseason, and Micah Parsons was 6th. So overall, Cowboys looking very revamped, and the talent level is extremely high in that position. Now, Nate, in front of them at the defensive line, it might be a different story.
No, I think these guys know where they stand. Hamilton and Bohannon. These are big men, 6'4", 6'3", 300 pounds, 310 pounds. They know they're supposed to eat up bodies so these linebackers can come downhill. Then we got Watkins coming in, Carlos Watkins, and we got Urban that can come in and play. We got a rotation there that's big, long range, and strong that will eat up bodies where the linebackers can run the gaps.
Cowboys had 4 sacks and a total of 29 hurries throughout the preseason. So the defensive line already showing off a little bit, but I bet there's no better person on this crew to talk about the backside of the defense than Barry Church. What did you have your eye on when you looked at this secondary?
Yeah, when I look at this young secondary, look, I expect him this year to get their hands on a lot more footballs than they did last year. I mean, we talked to Trayvon Diggs in the offseason. He said he had his hands on 14 footballs, but didn't have 14 interceptions. Well, look, I expect him to take that year 2 jump and turn some of those pass breakups into interceptions. I also expect a guy like DeMonte KZ, who under Dan Quinn led the National Football League in interceptions with 10. I expect him to contribute to this takeaway battle. And just overall, I expect this secondary as a whole to be a lot more sticky in coverage than it has been these recent years.
Now, did it worry you at all in the secondary, the fact that there was only 1 interception throughout the preseason, and it came off of a pass rush up front where there was kind of a throw up from the quarterback against Jacksonville and Israel Mukuamu came up with that pick?
No, that's not bothering me at all because I know there's other ways to take the ball away. We've seen Keanu Neal go out there and strip the ball. We've seen these guys go in there and get strip sacks as well. So as long as they're taking the ball away and winning the turnover battle, I see no problem with this defense.
What did you think about the coverage from those guys specifically throughout the preseason and how it could translate into the first week?
I loved it because it was combative. There was no wide receiver running scot-free out there. These guys were always out there on the hips of these receivers, and if they did make the catch, it was a super contested catch, and I can live with that in my secondary.
They're going to have to be plenty combative whenever week 1 comes around because guess what? The GOAT is in town. He is back in Tampa Bay trying to go for ring number 7 or 8, or I don't even know. I've lost count by now. How do the Cowboys slow down Tom Brady in week 1 when we come back with more special edition?
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. This segment is brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you.
In week 1 of the NFL season, the Cowboys have a pretty unique opportunity to try and spoil the party, spoil the celebration as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers celebrate their championship in their past Super Bowls. We return here with Special Edition. Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and it's going to be a tough task to slow down Tom Brady and that Tampa Bay offense. And, hey, the defense is no slouch as well. We're going to talk about both in this segment. But, Barry, I want to start with you in the passing game. No better place to start than Tom Brady, as he's now won 7 Super Bowls. He's looking for 8. How did the Cowboys slow him down?
Look, we're going to have to eliminate the big play, and that's going to be a hard thing to do with the passing options that Tom Brady possesses with Tampa Bay. I mean, they got Evans, Godwin, Antonio Brown. At the tight end, they got 2 guys that are vertical mismatches in Howard and Gronkowski. So we're going to have to limit the big play, but we're also going to have to be great in the yak, or yards after the catch. We know Tom Brady is a master, especially on 3rd down, of getting the ball out of his hands quick and letting his space guys do damage. We can't let a 2 to 3 yard pass turn into a 15 to 20 yard gain. So we have got to converge on that ball. We have to be great in open field tackling. And if we're able to control the yak and control these big plays, I think we stand a chance against Tampa Bay.
Is this the best receiving core the Cowboys will go up against all season long?
Without a doubt. I mean, you got size with Evans and Godwin, and then you got the skill of an Antonio Brown in the slot. It's going to be an extremely tough task for this Cowboys secondary.
And the drawback is the fact that, hey, if you're not throwing the ball, if you're Tampa Bay, you're going to have a chance to run it as well. They've got a stable of backs that they could potentially go to. Nate, how important is it to get the run defense together and stop guys like Leonard Fournette out of the backfield?
It's great, but Leonard Fournette is not going to be running that rock the way you think it's going to be Jones. And that's who's going to be running the ball. He got close to 1,000 yards, well, over 1,000 yards if you want to count the playoffs. Now, Leonard Fournette, we got to be able to cover him coming out of the backfield. That's where he's great at. And then they went and got Giovanni Bernard from Cincinnati. That is a do-all back. So they're going to have to, like you say, keep those guys in front of them, tackle them, and bring them to the ground because they are a run-pass team, and they will hurt you that way.
How important is it to have some play recognition on the backside, the backfield of that offense, to know whether or not they're going to be receivers out of the backfield? Because those running backs can certainly do both.
Yeah, you got to read your keys. You got to know what's happening. You got to play down and distance, and know who's in there and make sure you tackle.
And then Isaiah, that front 7. I know how you feel about the defense for this Tampa Bay ball club. I mean, they are nasty up front.
Yeah, we got to bring our hard hats this day. I mean, these boys last year they finished 6th overall in NFL in total defense. They have old Todd Bowles, our old defensive coordinator. He's down there as well. These guys were averaging. They had 48 sacks last year. All right, 25 turnovers. So these guys were averaging over 3 sacks a game and almost 2 turnovers per game. These guys have a slew of guys on the defensive front. JPP and Ndamukong Suh. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, they got a whole committee of guys. There's plenty of guys we have to worry about. And then you have Devin White and guys at the second level as well. Our front 5 are going to have to be able to control their front 7, not only running the ball, but we have to be able to block it up in order if we want to throw this thing around as well.
You got to be sound in your assignments if you're going up against this Tampa Bay defense because you don't play Washington until later in the year. This might be the best front 7 you see before Thanksgiving throughout the NFL schedule. And, of course, the Cowboys had some trouble against the pass rush last year. But the Cowboys, will they have trouble against this Tampa Bay wide receiver group? We talked about the trio. How will the secondary and Trayvon Diggs stack up when we come back?
This segment was brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you. This segment is brought to you by AT&T.
Another segment here of Special Edition from the Star in Frisco. We just talked about a little bit ago some of the more intriguing tasks, I guess you could say, of slowing down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how important it is to do so. Let's take a look at some of the specific matchups. And Nate, we'll start things off with you. These edge rushers from Tampa Bay are going to be coming at this Cowboys offensive line that hasn't necessarily been healthy. Does that worry you at all?
Yes, it does, because Jason Pierre-Paul has been a Cowboy killer, even when he was with the Giants. And then Shaq Barrett just showed up, especially in the playoffs with 4 sacks. I mean, we have to be wary of these guys, man. And then in the middle of that thing is Vita Vea, Sue. We got to be ready. In the middle and on the edges, we got to be perfect. We got to be perfect.
How do the Cowboys continue to be perfect, specifically when talking about the edge and some of these tackles like Tyron Smith and La'el Collins?
Just be technique sound. Make sure you're ready. Don't play the hands game with Jason Pierre-Paul. Hit in, lock down on him and sit down on him. And with the other kid, just be physical. Be physical on Shaq Barrett, man. And then in the middle of our defense, and I keep going back to that because Vita Vea and Sue are so strong. You got to be stout. You got to be physical. You got to be athletic, and you got to be thinking. Because all these guys are veterans.
Now, you look at the veterans on the defensive side of the football. They have a lot of that as well, Isaiah, whenever it comes to outside, I guess. And how do you feel like this Cowboys team is going to stack up in the secondary?
We're gonna find out exactly how experienced we are. We brought in some veterans this offseason, and we're gonna need them. We're gonna need these guys to be able to coach up some of these younger guys because these guys have probably the most dynamic trio of any receivers in this league. Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, these guys are all deep threats. Not one of them, not one guy specific for short, one guy specific for deep. These guys are all deep threats. They're all big play machines. So we're gonna have to be able to stay back, play, give but don't break, type defense, and make plays whenever they come our way because they're gonna take their shots.
And much like the Cowboys' big three wide receivers, each of those guys do something different for the offense. They have a deep threat, they have an underneath threat, they have the yards after the catch, and all three are experienced. Like I just mentioned a couple moments ago, that edge of that offense is so talented. But so is the backfield as well. Tom Brady, of course, the tight ends, and then the running backs as well, all three of which are going to be threats, Barry.
Yeah, the matchup I got my eye on is our linebackers, whether it's LVE, Parsons, Keanu Neal, versus that group of tight ends and running backs that Tampa Bay possesses. Now, we already talked about the tight ends with O.J. Howard and Gronkowski being vertical threats, but they also have a slew of running backs in the backfield who can catch the ball great out of the backfield. When I'm talking about Gio Bernard, Fournette, Ronald Jones, those guys are great out of the backfield. So what our linebackers are going to have to do is they're going to have to take away that space. We cannot let these tight ends get free releases off the line of scrimmage. We can't let these running backs catch check downs with their nearest defender being 8 or 10 yards away from them. We're going to have to take away that space, be great in open field. We got to have 2, 3, 4 hats at the ball at the same time. If we can do that, we got a chance to slow these guys down.
Earlier in the show, Isaiah mentioned some of the athleticism added to the linebacker room. Does that make you feel better about their matchups and what they'll see out of the backfield?
Without a doubt. I mean, last year we got exposed, and we got exposed a lot on third down with running backs coming out of the backfield, juking our linebackers, getting first downs. With the added speed and the added athleticism we have at linebacker, I think that shouldn't be a problem.
Keanu Neal, Micah Parsons, Jabril Cox, even Leighton Vander Esch, healthy and ready to go, all of which are positive signs for the Cowboys linebacker room and that defense overall. But can the Cowboys control the line of scrimmage? That's going to be at least one of the keys to the game, maybe multiple, when we give our keys to the game when we come back on Special Edition.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Wrapping things up here on a Week 1 edition of Special Edition from the Star in Frisco. Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton as the Cowboys prepare to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champions, to open up the 2021 regular season. Barry, keys to the game. You got to get after somebody, right?
We got to get after Tom Brady. We cannot let him sit back there like a doctor and surgically just outperform us. We have got to get after him, get pressure either in the front or on the outside. Somebody got to get in his face. We need to get Tom Brady under pressure.
We have to try to find a way to control this line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Our offensive line has probably the biggest task, and then our defensive line, you got to get to TB12 some way, somehow.
The offensive line got to do the job. We got to set tempo. We got to control those horses over there on their defense. We got to be able to let the coach call any play he want to call the offensive coordinator, and the offensive line can control tempo.
So pretty much what you're all telling me is that if you win the line of scrimmage, you've got a pretty good shot to win the game. Isaiah, what's the biggest key in terms of doing just that and making sure that you keep guys in front of you and get in front of others?
Yeah, get the ball out your hands on the offensive side of the ball. Establish your run game some way and then get the ball out your hands quick so that your guys can get some of that yak yardage. And then defensively, you guys just have to find a way to get through that mean offensive line to get to TB12. He doesn't like pressure.
Barry?
Well, like you said, TB does not like pressure, so we're going to have to get after his butt offensively. Dak, get the ball out quick. Let's turn around, let Zeke work. And I think we have a recipe for success.
Got a chance to win, but Nate, what is your prediction of the game?
All I need is about 1 point. If we take this thing by 1 point, let's just blow up the building, baby, and take it by 1 point.
Take it by 1 point. The Cowboys. That's your prediction.
That's my
Cowboys by 1. He's Nate Newton. He's Barry Church. Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you next week. Enjoy Week 1. Football is back.
Go Cowboys.